Jeff Gabriel Connection.
Vinny Milano, how are you, man? Welcome to the Jeff Gabriel Connection. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be your first guest of 2022.
I was just going to say that. You took that away from me. You are the first guest of 2022, and I'm really excited. And look, let's hope it's a nicer, calmer, less stressful freaking 2022, and we can put all this craziness behind you. And I think talking about something that's pretty cool, pretty relaxing, pretty important to a lot of people, which is the Yankees and the fans surrounding it, is an awesome topic. For those that are listening, Vinny Milano, aka Bald Vinny, is one of the most prominent figures in the Bleacher Creatures, which is this 150 plus organization of fans that sit out in the audience, get the crowd going, have relationships with not only the management, but with the team and the opposing team and the opposing fans. Welcome. How are you, man? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome, man. And yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. The Bleacher Creatures, we like to consider ourselves like the heartbeat of Yankee Stadium. You know, we're there day in, day out. We cheer on our team, whether it's like 110 degrees in the middle of July or it's freezing cold in the middle of April or October. We're out there every night, and we support our team. And that's kind of what Fandom is about, you know, being there and being loud. And that's kind of how we made our name out there, I guess.
Well, I'm just looking at you and I'm looking at your stature. I'm like, I wouldn't want to mess with this guy. I like if I'm the opposing guy or I'm the opposing right fielder, like I could just imagine the heckling, the words, the verbiage that would be coming off the stands.
Over the years, I could scream from my seat in the bleachers, and depending upon who's in right field, they know exactly who I am. You know, we had relationships with players like Nick Swisher, even guys that you wouldn't really expect, like Vernon Wells when he used to play for the Blue Jays. Then he came over to the Yankees. We had a great relationship with him because he recognized all of us from being on the road for all those years. But yeah, it's fun to get on a bench and scream your face off for 5 minutes. I don't care what kind of day you've had. You guarantee your day is going to be a little bit better.
What do you think? Why do fans get so passionate about their team, like so into being a fan and like you wanting to go there? I mean, I know you're the fan on steroids and you're the face of you are the face of fans, but like what like why are people so driven to be a fan? Like, what do you think?
I think, you know, like, you live and die with your team. You know, it's the elation and the defeat. And for a sport like baseball, where you play 160 games a year, you get to experience that quite a bit. You know, I always say I can't be a football fan because you lose 3 weeks in a row and your season's over. You know, you don't really have a lot of opportunity to make up ground with baseball. You could lose for 3 weeks in a row and still make the playoffs. And like the Yankees last year, we sucked for the first half of the year and still made it to the playoffs. And I think that's what, like with baseball, there's constantly something. And when you boil it even further down, like to the game, like the game of baseball, every time a pitcher sets right before he's about to deliver the pitch, literally anything can happen. You know, he could hit the guy in the head, he could throw it for a strike, or it could get knocked out of the ballpark. It could be literally anything. And that moment happens like 250 times a game. So it's just all those little things that drew me to the sport. And then honestly, going to a game and being loud is just a ton of fun. You know, I was back when I started going, I was single. I lived at home alone. And at the time it was $6. $6. You know what I mean? For a general admission ticket. And I would work in Midtown and you just kind of meet people and one thing led to another. And, you know, you just have some fun and they become a family out there.
$6. You can't even get into the parking lot. Maybe you can get like one tire in the parking lot for $6
anymore. You can't even get a beer.
God, they got all the, they have. I mean, I heard now that going to the ballpark, a family of four and food, it's like an $800 event or more. I mean,
it's well over $100 just to walk in the door, and that's why the bleachers have always been your best value. Even in terms of standing room at the stadium, a standing room ticket is usually $30. For a bleacher seat, it's $25. You at least get to sit down. So it's the most affordable. We haven't always been the most family-friendly section. You know, some of the language can get a little rough on a Friday night, but on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, if you want to bring the family, it's really probably your best bargain. And then all the real Bleacher Creatures will tell you, you bring your food in from outside. You know, nobody really spends money in the stadium, you know, unless you're bringing kids and you're buying ice cream or cotton candy and stuff. But Everybody goes to the food town that's right around the corner from the stadium, loads up on sandwiches, and you bring all that stuff inside because you can't go 81 times a year and pay for food and popcorn and all that stuff.
I read when you guys there was an alcohol ban in your section, and the guy at the deli was wrapping up like tall boys and heroes, and you guys are bringing in beer, and there was some guy with some beeros, and there was some guy with some big alcohol jug somewhere that was selling teas. I don't know where I read that, but I was researching.
So in the old stadium, there was an alcohol ban. So you have in the old stadium compared to the new stadium, the bleachers were separated. You weren't able to get into the main stadium because the tickets were so cheap. For $6, you would normally go in and you could walk upstairs. So they cut that off. So when they took beer sales away, we would actually smuggle in our own drinks, and didn't really take a lot of creativity. Like you said, you can go to the deli and they would cut open a hero, scoop out the inside and stick 2 tall boys, wrap it up like with boar's head stickers. And we called them beeros. And then, you had all the creative people who would bring in, a big bottle of Lipton iced tea, but it was really Jack Daniels. And
I'll have an Italian with beer. I love it.
Yeah, and we had drinks that would put the chest hair on your chest hair. You know what I'm saying? Like they were strong. Right. We call them stadium strength drinks. When you make them, you make them stadium strength. And get your money's worth out of them.
Did you guys, because you were such a mega force, it sounds like you had a relationship with the management. Did you guys get some package deal on your seats? At least it's not a box, it's up in the bleachers, but like this big section. Were you guys getting some sort of treatment of some sort from the management?
Not, originally, no. We, at the time, like I said, we were not really the family friendly section, and we thought it was a very good opportunity for the organization to break us up. As a group, but we were really, really surprised. We had a senior member of our group met with somebody in the Yankees seating department, and we actually gave them a seating chart, and they worked with us prior to working with anybody else to make sure that our group stayed intact. And it was awesome because we got to stay together, at least for the first couple of years. As people get older and people have families and kids and whatnot, groups fall off. But for the very first couple of years, we were able to do it together, and that was super important that they brought us over.
So you guys were a little bit crazy up there. It was about sort of also being in the bar, and the bar was up in the bleachers, and you were going ballistic, and you were moving the emotions of the crowd, and you were also moving the emotions of the opposing team right fielder.
Absolutely. Right? I can't throw or hit a baseball. But I'm loud as hell. So if I can scream and get into somebody's head a little bit, and even if I knock you off your game just a little bit, then I'm helping my team win. And I got to tell you, the greatest invention was the cell phone, because I could pull up your Wikipedia page, and I got your stats from when you went 0 for 20 in high school and whiffed like on your championship. I'm going to bring that up. And we've gotten guys like that's what we'll do. I'll try to get in your head, and if I can turn you off your game, that I'm going to help my team win.
Did you ever break some guys where they turn around and they just put their back to the home plate, and they're like, "Listen, dude, if you don't stop, I'm coming up in the bleachers, and I'm gonna get ballistic on you." I'm
going to tell you that the very, very, very first time I ever really got introduced to the whole heckling aspect of baseball was right after Ricky Henderson left the Yankees and went to sign with the A's. And I was taken to a game by a neighbor of mine, and they rode Ricky all game. I just couldn't believe it, that going on and on about the money. And then he turned around and he went, "Kiss my ass." And everybody went nuts. They thought it was like the greatest thing in the world. And because once you could break that back, they're like trained to tune you out. So our claim to fame is the roll call, where after the first pitch of every home game, it used to be me, but now it's somebody else, but we'll get up and we'll grab the attention of the center fielder, and we chant everybody's name until they turn around and acknowledge us. And we'll do it as long as it takes until you acknowledge us. And that's kind of what really set us up. We had a rapport with the guys in the outfield. You're right there. We're less than 50 feet away. So Bernie and Paulie and right and center, we always had a rapport. But one day it was like, "Hey, do you think we can get Tino at first base?" And we started chanting his name, and he turned around, and we all went, "Oh my God, they actually really hear us." And like that was the light bulb moment, because like I said, they're always so trained to ignore everything in the field, everything in the stands. So when we finally got that attention, that's really where we start to become like our own little group, and we had our own identity.
Johnny Damon used to recognize you guys every game, right? He would salute you guys or get on his knees or something, right? He used to
Yeah, he was
recognize
the
you guys,
first
respect you guys.
guy to kind of have fun with it, to kind of make it his own, where he gave like his own custom response. He would get down on one knee and do a double finger point. And that kind of evolved into everybody's own thing. Brett Gardner flexes, Swisher used to salute. Even Derek Jeter, as too cool for school as he was, he had his own turn and little double finger point. And they all had their own little thing. And it's interesting because through my my organization, with the Yankees, I've got to do some fundraising, and I attended a fundraiser a few years back, and it turns out they all make fun of each other for their little roll call things. Like, I can't believe you did this, so why'd you do this? And like Curtis Granderson came over to the Yankees and actually wrote a blog about like, what am I going to do for my roll call response? Like, how is this going to define me as a player for my career here? And he wound up doing like a fake heart attack.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool that they think about it, that they're willing to interact with the fans, because, like I said, usually you don't get that interaction.
Well, look, you guys are like the ego for the whole stadium. You're like what every fan is thinking, amplified with 100 people behind you or 150 people behind you. I think it's awesome. Didn't David Cohn come up and sit up with you guys at one point, or Martinez?
Yeah, we've had a few players out there. David Cohn's joined us. David Wells has been out there. Jim Leyritz is a huge fan of the Bleachers. He's been out there many, many times. And then I've had a bunch of famous celebrities have come out. The most famous would be Judge Sonia Sotomayor came and did roll call with us. I've had Justin Tuck from the Giants, a couple of NBA coaches, a lot of football players. We've had a lot of people out there join us.
What did you guys do during COVID? What was going on with the whole scene and the whole group? And you guys have like your own little, Slack chat going on or something? How do you guys all communicate with each other? Yeah, what are we going to do? There's no game going on.
Pretty much it was, at the very, very beginning, it was, what are we going to do? Because we are a family up there. It was always like the first day of school is opening day. You see all the people that you haven't seen all summer, but in our case, it's all winter. Because obviously we're a summer sport. So last opening day, COVID 2020, we did a big Zoom get together, and we all hung out and sipped drinks on our couch like we would if we were in our secret little spot up in the Bronx. And it was really tough because for fans, being a fan in your fandom is very big outlet of your life. Whether it's socially or just, like I said, you just to get up and scream your face off, it's a stress reliever. People miss that stuff. So it was tough for the uber ultra passionate fans. Missing that was definitely tough.
And it really is, when you were describing it before, why you're a fan of baseball, I didn't think of that way. The length of the season, it really is it's a real sporting competitive soap opera to follow. So it's not only the entertainment and the camaraderie of being together, but watching that story unravel in front of you. And the way you said it to me, I didn't think about it that way.
I mean, and look at it now, the way social media is and the access to teams with beat writers and Twitter, and all major news outlets all have a reporter that follows that team. So there's a constant news cycle. It's no longer waiting for you can get who's doing what with who's working out, who's not working out, who's hurt, and it's constant. So you're always you always have your finger on the pulse, and it just keeps you involved. And when you take out the live element of that, you're only stuck at home, and you're stuck on your computer, and you're stuck on Twitter, and you lose that personal element. And that for fans, and not just baseball fans, I think that was fans for any sport, whether or concerts or music, the live element of a fandom is so important.
All right. And what's going on now? Like, I know they got back into the season, and obviously it's not the season right now. Is it back to normal? Was it back to normal this past year?
pretty normal this year. The crowds were great, nice and loud Yankee fans. It was definitely a very younger crowd than traditionally. Usually there were a lot more families on the weekends, but as long as there are people there, that's signs of coming back. People want to be there to cheer on their team. They want to be there spending money, having a good time. That's all you can really ask for.
When it comes to the story that was always unfolding you in the sense of the season, the unfolding of the season that we were talking about over the years, which ball player did you guys have, as collectively the Bleacher Creatures have, the most endearing relationship with on that field? Who do you think you guys are most connected to?
Probably going to have to say Nick Swisher, only because of how public our relationship was. He's a super vocal, extremely outgoing, and really, really, really nice guy. And he was so welcoming to everybody in our group because, we sell merch and we hang out. And we like to be loud. So you don't really have a membership card. You know what I'm saying? You can hang out in the bleachers once and be like, yo, I'm a Bleacher Creature. That's awesome. And, guys like for him, he would, everybody, you're a Bleacher Creature, you're my boy. And that for us went, like I said, we're just fans. We're baseball fans. And when you can kind of cross that threshold and you get the respect from your starting right fielder, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it wasn't just a fan thing for you. And I mean, the camaraderie thing is really cool. And you made a lot of friends. You also made a business out of it. And that reminds me, this episode was sponsored by Bald Vinny's House of Teas, located on River Avenue on game days and also 24/7 at www.baldvinny.com. Again, www.baldvinny.com. Go check it out. And again, I really appreciate you sponsoring this episode. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business and the sponsoring?
So, like I said, I run Bald Vinny's House of Teas, and we make custom Yankee apparel for the hardcore fan. If you're going to Modell's and you're looking for your first Aaron Judge jersey, you might be a little entry level. We're kind of like your senior thesis. So, if you're a hardcore Yankee fan, you have Yankee tattoos, or you go away on your one vacation of the year to go see the Yankees on the road. You're our type of guy. So come check us out. We make great gear for you.
And you develop some other facets. I mean, you also have a baseball card, right? Tell us a little bit about your baseball card.
So, I wanted to be at Yankee games, and I really had no other way to be there every day. So I kind of started my own t-shirt company. The shirt that I'm wearing is my very first design I ever made. It's still something I sell now, like 22 years later. And really, I started a company on my parents' basement, and I create apparel for hardcore Yankee fans, mostly Bleacher Creatures. But, we make fun of Red Sox fans, and we'll make fun of Met fans. And, using that helped me be there every day. So that made me the roll call guy, because they went hand in hand. I can't be at every game unless I had a job there. And the job there let me do the roll call. And then 2017, I was approached by Topps. They wanted to put me in their card series. They made cards for some fans. I don't know if you can see that. You get that right there.
Yeah.
They came to my house. We did 900 cards, and I buy all of them on eBay. And please don't bid against me because I'm very competitive against it. No. I did 900 cards. I did 900 cards. You know how many they gave me? 5 cards. Like, between my mom and my sister, it's like I had to buy. So I like to collect them, and then my friends and my boss, or coworkers or customers or whatever, I like to give them to them. And that's my little claim to fame. I got my own Topps.
Hey man, you have some serious memorabilia and memories from being a Bleacher Creature. Who was the villain? Who was the right fielder that you guys had an ugly relationship with, or the opposing team? Who was the guy that when he was coming, it was nasty? It was really nasty.
It wound up being a guy that we wound up getting on our team. I don't know if remember a name, Raul Mondesi. He used to play for the Toronto Blue Jays back in the day, and he was their right fielder in Toronto. And we used to travel up there quite a bit. First couple of years we would drive, but then we would fly to Toronto and hang out there for a weekend. We would give Mondesi the business. I mean, to the point where he would play Friday, Then DH on Saturday. They just sit on Sunday just because he was so tired of hearing us. And then he got traded to the Yankees, or he wound up signing with the Yankees. So he was in right field, and he hated us. Like, only would acknowledge us for roll call because he knew it was part of the gig, and if he didn't, he would get more roasted than anything. But he absolutely did not like us at all. But on the flip side, I kind of mentioned him a little earlier, Vernon Wells. We had a very similar relationship. We used to give him a hard time when he was in Toronto, but he came to New York and he loved it. Quick story. Our chant for Vernon, simply enough, was "Your name's Vernon." That's it. Your name's Vernon. And everybody would die, and everybody would laugh. But I ran into him at a fundraiser, a Robinson Cano fundraiser, and he's like, "Dude, I don't get it." He's like, "Why is that so funny?" Like, well, see, it goes back a little bit. Vernon used to play right field, and there used to be a center fielder. His name was Shannon Stewart, and everybody used to go, "Shannon's a girl's name." And Vernon used to laugh at that. And we're like, "Dude, what are you laughing at? Your name's Vernon." And he was like, "Oh my God, I remember that." It's like those little things that stick, and he knows that it's us. He'll know it's always us, because who else does that? Why is Your Name Vernon entertaining? Because it was entertaining 5 years before you got here. That's why.
Well, you definitely would not be able to have relationships like this if you guys weren't this collective voice, all working together like that. So it's like it's a crazy story. Tell us a little about that book you were involved with. Flip Bondi wrote a book about you guys. Bleeding Pinstripes. Was that what?
Yeah, he's the one who really made us famous. Phil used to work for the Daily News, and during our youth as a group, he would do a recurring article on us, just on the shenanigans of who's sitting out there and the dumb stuff we say and the dumb stuff we would do before the games or after the games. And he kind of dubbed us the Creatures after a Village Voice article kind of named us that. And there was a cartoon caricature of all of us. And that's really what kind of gave birth to us. And then in 2004, he wrote a book, followed the whole crew around and, gave a little insight to everybody. And for some reason they put me on the cover, and I don't know how that got picked or whatever, but I wound up selling more copies of that book than Barnes and Noble. I wound up making a deal with the sports publisher. They made the run. They made a subsequent run, and then they were about to go out of business. And then I wound up buying all of their books for like $3 a piece. And because I was on the cover and I worked outside of Yankee Stadium, I was there. It was such an easy sell that I actually outsold Barnes and Noble. So yeah, that's my claim.
Well, there's your handsome face. That's why they put you on the front of that. You look so debonair Bleacher Creature. Did you guys take offense that they called you creatures?
Not at all. Not at all. In Chicago, they were the bums, the Bleacher Bums, and they called us creatures because we're creatures of habit. Everybody sits in the same spot. Back in the day, you'd go in and you have the same routine. And a lot of our guys still do. We're very much creatures of habit. People are very superstitious, especially baseball fans, baseball players get very superstitious. So that all kind of tied into our whole thing. And again, with the roll call happening right after the first, we do the same thing every time, every day, just so you know that it's us and it's going to go the same way, because you don't go wrong. I don't want to blame it on me.
Absolutely. So, top two players in history for you, top two teams.
There's only one team. It's only the Yankees. I'm only a Yankee fan. It's Yankees only, always.
There's not one club, one era, the Derek Jeter, that run.
Well, I mean, obviously the stuff that I saw, my two favorite players, number one's going to always be Bernie Williams. Everything with the Bleacher Creatures started with Bernie. He was our center fielder. He led off roll call and without his interaction, and none of this would ever gone off.
He was
and
then
awesome Jeter, obviously, you're seeing Jeter's career and being there for so many games in person, witnessing that era, watching him grow as a player and as an adult, and then now into the Hall of Fame. That's probably one of the most special memories I'll have.
He played a long time, Derek Jeter, and at a high level. I mean,
Yep.
what is it? 15 years, 20 years?
It was a 20-year career.
I mean, playing at that level athletically, I mean, he had a long, long career. And Bernie Williams was an amazing player.
Yeah, often
Yeah.
snubbed. You know, when they talk about Yankee greats, you know, there's always the core four. But Bernie, I think, really should have been in that discussion as well. You know, none of those championships would have happened without him. And yeah, like I said, you know, from our perspective, our whole rapport started with Bernie and Paul O'Neill in right field, center field and right field, because they were right there at the old stadium. Like I said, we were less than 50 feet away from those guys. So without their interaction, we never would have had anything. So it's really those two guys get it, and then it goes from there.
Do you think the Creatures continue on a new era, a new generation to pick up the
Absolutely.
baton where you guys left off? I mean, do you think in the new stadium the Bleacher Creature type environment reminds me more of like an old school bleacher environment, not this new high-tech stadium thing. I mean, is that a wrong look at it? Or
the old stadium was a much different atmosphere than what you have now. So at the old ballpark, you would come up the ramp, you'd see the stadium, and then you would walk up the stairs to your seat. So everybody saw you, whether you were late, if you came in stumbling from the bathroom, or you're hammered, or you're talking to some girl, you know, or the cops are giving you a hard time. Everybody saw everything, so everything was the show. At the new ballpark, you come in from the back and you come down. So nobody gets, you know, your view is never obstructed by fans coming in. So that really changed the element of our whole game out there, you know, like our show. But what really keeps the social aspect is that there are no seats. You're just benches. So if you want to slide over, or you need to jump back one or move forward one, you could be a little more social with the people that are around you. And I think that's really what's helped us keep our group together. You know, it is a fun time out there. You know, you will be loud. You might get up and just scream for the hell of it, just because at the moment strikes you. And nobody's going to look at you sideways. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to give you a hard time. Just get up. And as long as you're cheering for the Yankees. Now, obviously, you get a lot of people who come out and they know our reputation, and they'll come out decked in Mets gear or Red Sox gear. We tend to think of those people that
you had your hecklers.
Oh, 100%. You know, because like I said, they'll come in, they'll say, "Oh, well, you know, we're going to go sit with the big bad Bleacher Creatures. Let's see what they got." You know,
right.
First thing that we always say is like, "Look, you obviously weren't loved as a child, clearly, because you have to come here for attention. If you're coming here for attention, you need some friends. You know, if you want, we'll be your friend. We'll make fun. If you want the attention from us, we'll make you regret it."
But you know, when I was a kid, and I used to go to like Islanders games or basketball, and there was always that one kid who would wear the opposing team's uniform and want to piss off the Bleacher Creature crowd or piss off the fans. I mean, that was the guy that got the beer in the head. I mean, I'd be scared to oppose you in another uniform. Did guys get in your face? I mean, sounds like it sometimes.
We've had our moments, but the guys who sit out there, we sit there so often that we kind of police ourselves. You know, if there's some friction that's going to happen, I have to come back tomorrow. You know, so we're going to make it as calm as possible for all the other people who think that that's the way that they're supposed to act. If that makes sense, you know, you can see a video on YouTube and be like, "Oh, we're supposed to do this." It's not really like that. You know, we try to keep it as family friendly as possible. You can be loud and you can be obnoxious, and you don't really have to swear, and people don't get that. So that's something we're always constantly reinforcing. It's not about foul language. You don't have to go up there and scream, you know, obscenities, because there are kids there. But when you do get those fans that come in to test you, we make sure we put them in their place. You know, obviously you get a lot with the Red Sox and the Mets. Personally, my favorite are the Oakland A's fans, because you're an athletics supporter. I'm just going to call you Jockstrap all day. And when you tell somebody you're going to call them Jockstrap because he's an athletic supporter, they usually shut up pretty quickly.
I can imagine when you guys didn't want to, like, you know, have any aggression or violence towards somebody inside the stands. Afterwards, you guys would wait till the game is over, and then 150 people would be following you in the parking lot, like running after you. That never made the news. But man, Vinny, it's like it's actually awesome. I didn't know what to expect in talking to you, but like, you're such a super cool, fun guy, and I can see why, you know, you were one of the main lead components of the Bleacher Creatures, and it's like a really interesting, you know, human nature story, and it's those little stories that make life so interesting. And I really appreciate you being here. It was really cool to talk to you.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me on. And of course,
Yeah.
if any of your fans and followers out there are Yankee fans and you're like-minded like us, you like to make some noise and cheer on our Yankees, come hang out in section 203. We'll treat you like family. You get up on a bench, you scream your face off a little bit. We'll have a good time. And then, of course, got to check out baldvinny.com for all official Yankee fan apparel all the time.
I'll definitely get one of the shirts, man. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Have a great
Thank
evening.
you very much for having me. I appreciate it.